Hey there folks, welcome back. It's Elliot from Elliot's Reality, and today I'm on Money Saver Guides. I'm gonna basically try and give you some information about laptops or computers. For instance, if you're thinking about buying a laptop, you really want to look into it, okay? I've seen it plenty of times before where people just come straight into a shop and then they'll point at one random laptop and they'll say, I want it. And in most situations, they don't know what they're getting, they don't know what power quality they're going to get, and they don't know how long they're going to get out of use of this machine. So to be honest with you, I straight away think through my mind, it's a waste of money and it's a waste of time. And a lot of people do this nowadays. They always go into a shop and then they'll find either the cheapest laptop and they'll expect it to do them wonders. Okay, but it won't. There's a big difference when it comes through laptops and computers nowadays. There's different categories you've got to look into. First of all, if you do go into a shop, and especially if it's an electrical retail shop, get yourself some help. Even though you may think you know your stuff about computers, always get some help, because they may know something that you don't know and it could help you. It might change your mind on a laptop. They might advise you by saying that, oh, we've seen a lot more faulty ones of these than we have of those. It might change your mind completely. But this is a few of my my bits of information to try and help you out, okay? I'm going to break this down into categories. There's going to be memory, you've got your hard drives, your processors, the price, the graphics, the manufacturers, and anything like extras, okay? So what we'll do, we'll start off with processors. Now, a lot of people don't know what processors are. If you deal with computers, then certainly you'll know what a processor is. The way I generally explain it is that it's the brain of the computer. The more brain power you have, the more multitasking you can do, or the more skills you can do. Now, there's two main companies on the market with processors nowadays. There's Intel, which they've been doing it for certainly a long time. They've got quite advanced technology, and they know what they're doing. There's AMD is the second company. Very nice company. They're very good at the graphics, I must admit, and certainly some of the processors are quite nice. The thing is, when you look between these two manufacturers, if someone just said the names to you, you wouldn't know what a difference is. But it's the fact about what speed they do in the meantime. First of all, Intel have a good background history to them. Now, first on their part of things, they deal with some processors called their I series. So they do something called an i3, i5, and i7. The best way to think about a processor, as I said, it's a brain to the machine, but the brain to the machine has certain amounts of cores, so each core is a brain, pretty much. So effectively, the i3 brain has 3 brains running away, i5, 5 brains, i7, 7 brains, quite simple, okay? You do have some lower than those with Intel. You can have something called a Celeron, which is 1 chip, or a processor, which is 2 chips, okay? The more the merrier, simple as that. But the thing is, don't go overboard. Just because you want to get more brains for more power doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use all that power. For example, if you are going to be pretty much a general user of browsing on the internet, you don't need to go for, say, an Intel i7 processor, because you're never going to touch power and you're going to be wasting your money on a chip that's not even going to get the full use out of it. You want to either go with, say, a Pentium or an i3. No point in going higher because you won't use it. If it was more gaming categories, certainly go i5 or i7. Helps out a lot more, but you have to level it out with other things. AMD is the second company. Certainly had a good background history to them as well. Now, the way they deal with things, they pretty much deal with just physical cores. So again, they do something called the A2. I think there's one called the A4. There's the A6, the A8. Again, the more amount of chips they deal with is by the number of it. Okay. But they just always deal with physical power, whereas Intel, they deal with physical power but virtual power as well. So they try and think a bit more ahead of you. If you want to try and find out more about that, certainly ask your sales advisor whenever you go to a store. I'm sure they'll try and explain it to you as best as possible. You want to try and get the computer guy. They'll certainly guide you in the right direction. Don't get the washing machine guy or television guy, because they probably won't know what they're going on about, okay? The next thing to look between is pretty much memory. so your RAM, or random access memory it's called. You can have anything from 2 gigs, 4 gigs, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, so on. It jumps up and up and up. The minimum on average nowadays is 4 gigabytes. If you're just a general user, you can get away with 4 gigabytes. If it's more gaming categories, you want to try and go for maybe 8 gigabytes or more. Certainly helps out with the multitasking, helps out with the speed of it as well. But necessarily, again, don't just go for the highest RAM possible, because it doesn't necessarily make a difference. You've got to look into the processor again. You will always be jumping back and forwards when it comes to laptops and spec wise. So what I mean by this is, say if you picked out a laptop with an Intel Pentium processor and you want to have 8 gigs of RAM, there's no point, because pretty much the Intel Pentium's not going to be able to handle the amount of multitasking to run 8 gigabytes of tasks anyway. So you may as well just stick with the 4 gigabytes, save yourself money. Because one thing you'll start to notice on a lot of laptops, either they'll give you high specs on one end, on low specs on the other though, is all gimmicks. Everything you see nowadays on laptops is gimmicks. They'll either throw in a really rubbish processor, but they'll put a high amount of RAM in there just to get you saying, oh, that's got a lot of RAM, it's got to be a good machine. But it's not really. Think about it. So that pretty much summarizes RAM anyway, so you can look between them. Hard drive doesn't really make a difference. That's entirely up to you. It depends on how much storage you're going to do. I've seen it all the time. A lot of people say, oh, it's only got 500 gigs. But when you look this way, 500 gigs is still quite a lot. You can get roughly about 70,000 songs or something like that. And unless if you're a really hardcore music lover, that's the only time you can really get 70,000 songs. Look into cloud storages as well. They certainly help out. There's always offers out there with cloud storages, getting cheaper and cheaper, and they give you more and more data all the time. It's always secure as well. When it comes to, say, graphics cards, what you'll notice on a lot of prices and tickets and information is a lot of them will say Intel HD graphics. Now, just because it says HD in the name, it doesn't mean that it's going to run games, okay? Normally when they say the Intel HD graphics is designed for the fact of running online games or poker sites, or most commonly just running HD videos on the internet. That's the main thing for it. It's not going to deal with third-party games. If you want to go towards gaming-powered laptops, you are looking at spending quite a bit of money, but that's where you want to look into Nvidia. They will deal with very good graphics cards. Again, with more memory, it helps out on that side of things. And that then takes us actually to the next part of things, is your price. As soon as you walk into the shop, they normally do things in price categories. So they'll start with maybe a laptop at 250 quid. A lot of people think it's going to do wonders, but to be honest with you, you'll be lucky if it lasts a year out of it, and then you'll be buying another one and again years later. A lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but to be honest with you, it can be quite true. What you want to do, especially when it comes to gaming categories, you want to first of all look into the price, because if you're expecting to get a gaming machine for under 500 quid, you're going to be extremely lucky and you're probably going to get yourself a crap machine. Normally a gaming laptop starts on average about maybe 600, 700 pounds, working up the way, depending again on power, processor, graphics, RAM, hard drive, manufacturer. There's loads of things to it. So don't be a cheapskate when it comes to gaming machines, okay? You have to literally spend a buck or two if you want to get a gaming laptop especially. If you want to save yourself more money, however, go for a desktop and gaming machines. Saves you a lot more money, a lot more in function wise, because you can always upgrade it in future as well. Certainly it means you've got to sit at a desk and use it, but the thing is, if you're going to do gaming, you are pretty much best to sit at a desk anyway. Next category would pretty much lead you to manufacturer. Certainly if you don't know the name of a manufacturer, ask about it first of all, because I've seen it quite a lot in the past. Say Fujitsu, Siemens, in the past reasonably good manufacturers, but now you very rarely hear from them. It's normally you'll either get them in Asda's or Tesco's, and they're normally one of the cheapest laptops there. There's a reason for that. It's because they're crap. I'll tell you that straight away. They're absolutely rubbish. Whereas say if you go to maybe Sony, Sony or Apple, quite premium manufacturers. You do pay a lot for the name, but you are paying for quality and build as well on that side of things. So it does make a big difference in how robust your machine is going to be. For example, you don't want a machine that's going to be either falling apart in 6 months' time, whereas if you have, say, a Sony laptop, it may last 2-3 years and it may never fall apart. There's all those little things like that. When you're certainly looking through the machine as well, you'll once you've decided through all the fact of your processor, your RAM, your hard drive, size of screen can make a big difference in price as well, because you do pay a lot for a fact of a 17-inch screen. It's just manufacturers are getting very tight on that side of things. It costs them a lot of money to make a 17-inch screen nowadays, so that's why most laptops are generally a 15-inch screen to them. After that, it's just down to the fact of extras. Make sure the extras you want are going to be either in the machine, or if there's extras that you don't want, it could save you money. Pretty much what I mean by this is you could certainly pick yourself out a machine. It might be nearly £1,000. You're wondering why it's £1,000 when the machine further down the end with the same specs and same model, same other things, is maybe £400 cheaper. It's because of all these extra little things in the background. Some manufacturers throw in Blu-ray drives just for the sake of it, because you may want to deal with high definition. Some manufacturers deal with Bluetooth. Either it's a very common feature, it can be quite handy, but not everyone needs it, and some people do need it. But most of all, say speakers. Speakers is one big thing, especially when it comes to HP nowadays. They're dealing with a lot with Dr. Dre's. Toshiba's dealing with Harman Kardon quite a lot, and Sony, I believe they're dealing with JBL now as well. So you look into these things. So if you want to get good sound quality for your machine, you have to really go for a designer brand. If you're going to get just a simple laptop, it's going to have simple speakers to it, and you're going to absolutely hate it. You'll end up buying a £20 set of speakers and plugging them in, and you find out they're just as bad as the laptop on that side of things. So you certainly want to look into these different categories. Now, I do hope this helped you out. I'm not trying to be biased in any way with it, the products, obviously, between like Intel or AMD or manufacturers, name quality brands, nothing like that. This is purely just trying to be a guide to help you in the right direction, because the last thing you want to be doing is finding that you're spending nearly £300 on a laptop that's going to last you either 12 months, where you could spend maybe £400 on a laptop and it might last you 3 years. That £100 could make a difference in your lifespan to the machine, but also a difference in your productivity with multitasking, power, gaming, all sorts of things. So I do hope this has helped you out. Certainly, if you have any questions, either post them down below. You can always get me on Twitter. I'll try and help you as much as I can. I do try and keep up to date with all this technology of all sorts of different manufacturers of processors, all sorts of things. So certainly let me know if you're having problems, or if you do want to find out anything. Twitter would be the quickest way, because I've always got my phone on me and I always keep an eye on Twitter, and I can try and reply to you. So even if you are in the middle of a shop and you just think, oh well, what is this processor, I can try and help you if possible. So as I said, this is not to be biased in any way, but I just hope it helps you out. So in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you get the right laptop.